it can be quite complicated. It changes by the day, by the hour, sometimes by the minute.
It certainly does. I mean, there will be thousands of people watching now who are thinking, crikey, how many days of this have I got left? They were the people who suddenly, on the 25th of July, they were enjoying their trip to Spain. Many of them had just landed. And then suddenly the government said, sorry, Spain's on the must quarantine list. When you come back, you have to go straight home and stay there for 2 weeks.
So, Simon, what are they basing it on, the red zones?
Well, I've been talking to them a great deal about this, and there's some raw data which comes from the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control, which ironically is in Sweden, where they haven't done particularly well on this. But they publish every day a table of the latest data in terms of new cases, and it's basically number of new cases per 100,000 people in the country over the past 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And that is the number. We're doing pretty well. We're sort of down towards the end of that table. And they're clearly looking at the countries at the top end and thinking, right, is it OK still to go there?
France teetering on
well,
the
yes.
edge now?
So
people on holiday in France or about to go to France are saying, where does this sit now?
Yes, the key number tends to be 20 new cases per 100,000 population. The UK, for guidance, is 17. France is 29, or it was yesterday. And the question is not only what is the absolute number, but what's the trend? And the French Prime Minister yesterday was saying, you're going in the wrong direction, everybody. You know, we've got problems here. And if the rate goes up, I think we will see, very sadly, France put on the
OK, well, what about where the rate is going down? Because you've been looking at those trends and, you know, maybe some people are watching and they're undecided. What about your advice? People are worried about putting their money out there to actually book a ticket and be up front. What would you say to them?
Go to Italy. I was, in fact, there talking to you a couple of weeks ago from beautiful Venice. They are absolutely at the bottom of the table. Fewer than half the new cases that you've got in Britain. They're doing really, really well. Greece is also looking good. Croatia's OK. But places like Malta, I'm afraid we could find that Malta gets put on the no-go list pretty soon. And, of course, you're talking about anxiety. This is a time of year when everybody should be really looking forward to some kind of escape, and they simply can't because we don't know, as you say, from one day to the next, which countries are going to be regarded as safe.
Well, should they be looking for some sort of escape? I want to go to Vicki Broadbent now, who's a blogger and she's a mum. And you're not convinced, Vicki, it is the right time to go abroad, are you?
No, I think it's somewhat sort of socially irresponsible right now. You're still taking a risk in transit, getting on planes, taxis, and why not help the homegrown economy right here, which is on its knees, frankly. The tourism industry, the hospitality industry, they need our money and support. And look at the glorious weather we've had. I've had lots of wonderful staycations over this past year, even prior to lockdown. We've got Cornwall, we've got the Yorkshire coast. Why take that risk? Could you not just postpone to next year? It's hard enough travelling with kids. To then have disruption placed on top of that, I personally think it's rather selfish to sort of do that to your family right now.
Right, OK, I completely take your point, except that it's also perhaps more responsible to be going to Italy and to be going to somewhere with really low risk than it is to be staying in the UK. And I take your point about doing everything you can to support the UK travel industry. I'm doing everything I can, but I'm getting messages time and again. There's no space at a campsite in the southwest of England until October. What I'm urging people to do is, yes, support the British tourism economy, but go to cities. You can get ridiculous rates. I was staying in lovely Leeds last week, 25 quid, really nice city centre hotel. Doing the same at the weekend down in Wales. Then I'm going up to Edinburgh. Normally the Edinburgh Festival right now, and you can't get a room for love nor money.
Just run that past me again. For people who would say to you, but what are you going to do in Leeds city centre? You're using it as a base.
Exactly, yeah. So the great thing about Leeds is, and pretty much any of the great UK cities, is that you use it as a base. Really good connections to get you out to the coast at Scarborough, maybe to the Yorkshire Dales. You go to the Yorkshire Sculpture Park, really good cultural attraction in the open air. It's a really good way to do it. And that's where you're going to find availability and great prices.
Yeah, well, Vicki doesn't want to go away, isn't going to go away. You're saying you can, and there are countries you can go to. Let's speak to Ged, Todd and Karl Smith, because they have gone away. They've gone to Kos in Greece. Hello, the two of you.
Look, they look as though they're hating it. Look at them.
Good morning. So you took what some people are calling a risk. I gather you'd had some holidays already cancelled. So tell us about your holiday plans and how you've ended up in Greece.
Well, we was originally booked to Portugal for the same week, and that was cancelled due to the UK government quarantine rules. We booked with the same tour operator to Kos in Greece, and Greece has very low numbers, so we thought that it was a safe place to travel to, opposed to maybe the south coast of England, where the beaches are extremely busy.
Yeah. And what was the journey like? How did you find it going through the airport, the flight itself, and once you got to Greece?
Really straightforward. Actually, a lot easier than we were expecting. We sailed through the airport, observing social distancing, wearing our masks, hand gelling, etc. The flight itself wasn't as bad as expected. It was 4.5 hours. The mask didn't really bother us at all. The jet crew were actually quite strict on making sure we did wear the masks at all times, although we were allowed to take them off to eat and drink, but we had to replace them. And then straight through to the airport here, again, it's obviously everywhere, and there's guidelines and recommendations. As long as you're following them, it's no riskier than going down to Bournemouth.
Well, lads, you don't feel you're taking a risk. You don't feel on the edge there. You don't feel that you would have been safer staying at home.
Not at all.
Right, not at all.
And what
Feel very safe.
What about the resort itself?
Staycation, maybe.
Yeah. What about the resort itself? Because a lot of people are saying, I really want to go, but I'm worried I'll get there. And they'll go, well, none of the bars are open, the restaurants are closed, there's no buffet breakfast anymore. What's the atmosphere?
Especially the buffet breakfast.
Yeah.
Ruth likes her buffet breakfast. If you get there and there's no buffet breakfast, forget it.
That would ruin my holiday. And what about local people? Are they happy to see you?
But the staff for you, so it's the same setup for buffet, but it's behind perspex screens, and the staff will serve you whatever want. There's reduced service, but there's still your same deal, albeit with the expected restrictions.
We're having a few problems with your line, guys, but I was reading about Ged and Karl this morning, Simon, saying that, yes, there are a few differences, but it's still OK. But he said, actually, the local people are thrilled to see them and saying they're so grateful that they've actually come and helping support the tourism economy.
Well, exactly. Greece, 4 weeks ago today, took the decision, right, we've got to open up to people from the UK because, frankly, our economy depends on it. And you're going to get that story played out everywhere. One point I must say I absolutely agree with Vicki about, though, it's the journey. That is the only part that I think there are concerns about. And I'm glad that Ged and Karl had a fantastic journey. That sounds really good. Well, I'm afraid some of the flights I've been on, you'd be thinking, hang on, not quite sure about this. Generally, when you finish the flight and you get to the far end and you're standing around with millions of other people.
Well, but before we go to Vicki, I just want to say goodbye to Ged and Karl there. And boys, I went to Kos 40 years ago. Great place for a bike ride because it's completely flat, so it is. Have you seen Hippocrates' tree yet?
Yeah.
Oh, in the centre of Kos town?
Yes, where the Hippocratic Oath was taken for the first time.
Yes, no, it's very pretty, lots of archaeological sites.
Thank you. Have a great time, guys. Vicki, right. Vicki, you're there. You're safely at home. You're hearing what everybody's saying. Ged and Karl, they're having their fun. Simon's saying, get out there. Yes, the journey to and from the airports might be a wee bit riskier, whatever it is. Overall, a lot of people seem to be determined they're going to have that holiday if it kills them, literally.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that need to want to get away, and I'm actually originally a Leeds girl and my family are originally Greek. So all these arguments, obviously, I get that. I do think it is a bit of a kick in the teeth for our economy here. There's, record number of redundancies. And I also don't like the idea that if I go away with my family, I could potentially be in a country that I don't speak the language, might have to go to hospital. And I just don't want that kind of to ruin a holiday. And I think that, like I say, it's tough enough anyway, travelling. And I am concerned about the taxis, the transfers on the plane. There's a risk of infection, and it's not also about us, it's about the vulnerable. So the people in Greece, I've got family in Greece and Cyprus, and whilst, yes, everybody needs tourism, people are genuinely worried about this risk of infection and tourists coming over. Yeah. And as we know, we could be asymptomatic. So,
well, could I put it to you? There you are in Windsor, majestic Windsor, right? A lot of people are going to visit Windsor if they stay at home. Do you worry about them bringing the germs, bringing the virus to you?
Of course, there's that risk. We know that. We can see that with lockdowns happening in Leicester, and we're at high risk in the UK. I just feel that you feel more secure, I suppose, in your home country and being able to speak the language potentially, and just not feeling as at risk, I would say. Maybe that's a little naive, the doctor will be able to tell us. But for me, I would feel it's too much of a risk right now to be holidaying abroad. And I've done, my research.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Vicki.
Simon, final word to you. I suppose no travel is risk-free.
Absolutely not. And for an awful lot of people watching this, particularly if they're vulnerable, they will not want to go anywhere abroad. I completely respect that. But I also think that people who are prepared to travel safely, respectfully, should be allowed to go. I'm just so sorry there's so much stress around. We don't even know if it's going to be necessary to quarantine on the way back from France. We may find out later today.